everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Unusual Suspects. I am your host for now because we're always going to be switching. Vincent Oshana. Really fast, I'm going to go around and introduce everybody really fast, just so you guys know at home. To my right, the beautiful, the sexy, the bald, the bearded Rob Garguilo's in the house. To my left, to my left, he is one of the original Unusual Suspects. He was here when I wasn't even here yet. I was at the debates, the first debates. Very, very funny, very educated, very tall. His hands are huge. They're mitts. Joel Pelon. It's French, right?
No,
okay,
it's okay. It's okay.
But it sounds French. No, you should add like one of those accents on it and just tell people they have to say.
I'll make a note. I'll make a note.
Thank you for being here, brother.
Yeah.
And to my left, dude, one of the most American. He is so American. And Bob, I think we talked about this earlier. You know how he lights up his Christmas tree with fireworks? He just those fireworks and the whole. Brandon Aceto, everybody. Brandon Aceto's in the house. So, before we go, so Taylor is a brand new Unusual Suspect. She works at Valuetainment. She's upstairs in sales. She has interesting points. So Pat was like, you know what? Get Taylor in there. Taylor DeGrande, which is, you're no relation to Ariana.
No.
At all? Okay. You know what? Good for you. It's probably a good thing. But Taylor,
Ariana Grande, and it's Day Grande.
Day Grande.
Come on,
yeah.
not even.
A day,
right.
night,
Okay.
whatever. Listen. So, Taylor, do me a favor. Just tell everybody at home a brief intro about you, where you're from, and what you do. And
For sure. My name is Taylor DeGrande. I am from Michigan. I work here at Valuetainment in Bet David Consulting. What brought me here, and literally in my interview, Mario's like, why would you want to work at Valuetainment? And I was like, because we're going to save America. So I work in Bet David Consulting with CEOs, founders from across the globe who are getting direct mentorship from Patrick, Tom Ellsworth, and some of our other expert operators.
Oh, so you're just winning, basically. So when you said, for your interview, when you said, I'm here to save America, was he like, did he look at you like?
He loved it.
Like he loved it.
All right.
Okay.
That was it. Yeah.
Dude, I wish I knew. I had to like dance for that. And I had to juggle. You put me in a wig. You saw the video? Yeah. You put me in a wig, and I was like that. But anyway, all right, guys. So as some of you guys may know, last week on PBD Podcast, Rob was on it. We had a guy by the name of Steve Schmidt. Did you see the whole thing?
I did.
You saw the whole thing? Okay. Towards the end of the podcast, we got into a heated debate. The podcast was in cruise control for the majority of the podcast, and then at one point
it was fairly civil.
Would you say civil? Would you say some people said it was boring? Like it was because he talked very slow.
Well, yes, he spoke like slow. If you ever watch a YouTube video and they slow down the speed, normally people speed it up.
Yeah.
We would have had to double the speed just to make him normal because it was a very
When I was editing it, I put it on 2x and it sounded normal.
I watched it on 2x and I was like,
hold on, guys. I had to sit next to him, and the funniest part of the whole thing was Tom was scheduled for that one, but then that morning, guys, think about how God and life works. Tom kind of canceled, and Pat's like, oh, Bob goes, Vinny, I need you on it. So by the way, I did my research. I did all the research on the Lincoln Project. So I had the ammo, but I was just sitting there nodding. What sparked the whole debate or the fight, whatever you want to call it, is he compared, and he's done this in the past, he compared January 6th to 9/11, and that dude, and how it
was worse.
He said it was worse.
It was a worse
and for you,
day
he
for
actually
Americans.
he said, and I quote, the January 6th attack for the future of our country was profoundly more dangerous event than the 9/11 attacks. And in the end, the January 6th attacks are likely to kill a lot more Americans than were killed on the 9/11 attacks, which will include the casualties of the wars that lasted 20 years following. Okay, so as you guys could probably gather, it didn't sit well with me, especially being I'm the child of legal Middle Eastern immigrants, okay? I myself served in the Air Force during 9/11. I was put on stop loss where I couldn't even leave because Bush put a thing where they can't afford to lose soldiers. The president put something called stop loss, which basically means, like, Joel, you're walking out the door. If they go, hey, can't afford it, you're stuck. So imagine the taste, the sour taste I got in my mouth. My brother and my sister are also veterans. My sister, Veronique, just retired after 25 years. She's currently working at the Space Force in California, so the mission doesn't stop. So for him to say that, it threw me off the edge. But just for all the people that are new that don't know who this guy is, I'll give you guys a brief background of good old Steve Schmidt. So he was an American political corporate strategist. He worked on Republican political campaigns, including George W. Bush, California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, Senator John McCain during his 2008 campaign. And just to mention, and Rob, you brought this up on the podcast, he didn't even vote for John McCain. That should tell you a lot about the individual himself.
Right.
How can you work and back a presidential candidate and be the head of his campaign and you don't vote for him? So you're telling me to vote for this person, but for the country, but you won't do it. It kind of says a lot about his character.
Well, that would literally be selling, not literally, but it is selling your soul because you're accepting money to run the campaign.
100%, a lot.
But you're getting paid to do what? You're going out and promoting the campaign of somebody you don't believe in. So that'd be like us selling something that we don't believe in.
100%, Rob. Like, yeah, you're pushing a shitty product.
A snake oil salesman.
That's exactly who he is. Yeah.
He was pretty bad at his job, too, if you think about it. Because, you know, like,
politician.
he won by a hanging chad for Bush the first time. He won because of 9/11 the second time. And then he won with the Terminator, which is easy. And, you know,
Yeah, because he was going up against like Gary Coleman.
yeah, so that's not impressive.
That is pretty funny. Like as a campaign manager, Arnold, do me a favor, just come up here and just go. Okay, I'll be back. Dude, I'm sold.
And don't have sex with your house.
And then with the McCain,
Don't
Career in politics forever.
Don't cheat on your wife with the maid, housekeeper, and
Have an illegitimate child with them. And then he's like, I'm going to disappear for a while, grew a beard, and came back. He's like, I'm liberal. And people are like, oh, we love Arnold. He's the best.
That's what I'm telling right now. All you have to do is change to Democrat and liberal, and everything goes away. It's actually quite magical.
Or change your gender, and then they like
That's true.
He'd make an ugly woman. Could you imagine Arnold as a woman?
Oh, my God. Like, yeah, you have to go in the back seat and make it out. Anyway, so more about Steve. So he's a founding member of the Lincoln Project, a super PAC organized in 2019 by former Republican operatives opposed to Donald Trump's 2020 campaign for re-election. He instead supported 2020 campaign of Democratic nominee Joe Biden, and as of 2020, the organization raised over $100 million. Brandon, where is that money? Is that I didn't ask him, but is that like a source? Who's giving that much money to take down Trump?
all the people that hated Trump, you know, because obviously, I mean, half the country, maybe 40%, hated Trump. So people are just funneling money into this thing. And I don't even think it's unreasonable to think that people like Soros are giving money too, because they registered as a super PAC, so they had all kinds of you know, exemptions and like accounting things that let them take in money in an unnatural way that like a business wouldn't take in money. So then they basically siphoned off a ton of it. I think they only used like half of it or something like that.
Oh, so where's the rest of the money go?
Yeah,
so Brandon, just so you could teach me, when it comes to a super PAC, are you donating and it's nameless and it's just a part, like, is it unlimited amount of funds, however much money you want to get?
Since the Citizens United Supreme Court thing, it's corporations could basically an unlimited amount of money to campaigns. And
that's not fair.
No, not
so whoever has the most money and the most commercials and the most shit talking, you're the ones that are going to win.
The most things promised to them, they get hooked up.
Oh, damn, dude.
What happens to the money if they don't spend it?
It goes in his pocket.
Well, in this situation, they just took it and ran.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And I mean, again, since it's like a liberal thing when they're against Trump, there's much less attention towards it trying to do anything about it. But if it's the other way around,
money.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, exactly. And by the way, this is the most successful super PAC in the history of our country. They raised the most money to go after the guy. What were you going to say, Rob?
But with the BLM money, we know where that went.
Right.
That's the difference. BLM went to buying Patricia Kohler's different mansions, whereas the Lincoln Project money, they're like, oh, we don't know where that other $50 million went.
You know what's funny, too? When I was watching the documentary, it was like 5 episodes, and it kept showing the guy in his house. And each episode, like in the timeline, he was in a bigger and a bigger house.
Yeah.
So progressively, you're watching this guy just get rich off the Lincoln Project because he kept being in a nicer house every episode.
Oh, weird.
That you could document laundering that money.
Yeah, exactly.
And then so
allegedly.
So he says what he says, and then that's when the shit show started. And then I want you guys everybody home, everybody here to remember, it's always the people that are pointing the most and projecting are the ones that you have to really, really be careful about. So, and then the Lincoln Project. By the way, just some more fun facts. They went after Trump for being what? Horrible, bad man who cheated on his taxes, lied 30,000 sometimes. This guy counted apparently because he has nothing better to do. He colluded with Russia and all that nonsense. But come to find out,
and the porn star thing.
And the porn,
Stormy Daniels.
But you know what's the funniest part of the whole thing was? Steve, that whole group, the Lincoln Project. They were guilty of doing exactly what they were going after Trump. So one of them had a $390,000 tax lien on his house. Weird, tax guy. One had to go to court for not paying his American Express credit card with a debt of over $26,000. And the crown jewel the winner of the group, his co-founder, John Weaver, was not only a registered foreign Russian agent, but a pedophile. Okay? You cannot make this up. And apparently...
And Trump's the bad guy.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's evil.
And apparently, the Lincoln Project, he stated, he goes, you heard him on the podcast, I didn't know. Hey, it wasn't me. I paid my taxes. That's his way out. And it just seems to me like it's the professional, it's like by the way, I'm folding my leg. That's professional as hell.
Yep.
And I'm in pain right now. It's funny how he's a professional, Joel, strategist. You know what that means? Everything is strategic. Right when that news of the John Weaver being a pedophile comes out, guess what good old Steve does? Hey, just FYI, I was molested when I was a kid. Wow, what great timing. As a strategy guy, like what better? Because you know what? And here's a message to Steve. If that really happened, stop the press. Let's go find that guy and hold him accountable. If you're telling the truth, I'm with you 100%. Find that guy, find out his name, and hold him accountable. Don't just throw that out there and say, like, oh, we were all molested at some point when we were kids. It kind of it fits his narrative. But anyway, so back to the beef. So comparing that day to 9/11 was, dude, it hit a nerve that made me like go nuts, because now we're finding out all the stuff that's really happened. And Brett, just guys, I made a list of facts.
Yeah.
Just so you know, these guys, they always want to be like, no, you don't know what, I'm a whack job. I'm a crazy whack job.
Effing nut is what he calls
Effing
you.
nut. How many people died?
A few times.
How many people died on January 6th?
One.
Who died on January 6th?
It was actually on the conservative side.
Yeah. Who was it?
Babbitt.
Ashley Babbitt.
Yep,
A
Ashley
12-year
Babbitt.
United States Air Force veteran.
By a cop, right? Or like
Yeah,
By a
they're-
Capitol
Capitol
Police.
Yeah.
That, by the way,
the one person.
by the
There
way,
were
They kept his
suicides,
name
you said
out,
too.
they
There were
kept everything
suicides.
out.
People
Any
things happened
shooting
afterwards.
Yeah.
Any shootings that happen anywhere in our country, the cops' names released within 24 hours. There's a manhunt for them or a witch hunt for them.
Yep.
And this one was kept quiet for so long.
Yep. Oh, and wait, so long. And by the way, an insurrection with nobody
weapons.
armed with guns and everything.
Yeah.
And the only person murdered was a veteran, and everybody keeps their mouth shut. And by the way, countless FBI agents on the ground, Rob. I think, who's the FBI head of Chris? Who is it?
Not
Chris
Cole.
Wray?
Christopher Wray, in front of Congress, they asked him in Congress, they said, can you tell us how many dressed down FBI agents were on the ground on that day? He goes, that's their best answer. It's an ongoing, we can't, BS.
We can't disclose.
Because I don't care what anybody says, we have video footage of Ray Epps, and I know we always beat this horse to death. This guy is on camera dressed like a freaking Fed, yelling, telling people, whispering, we're going inside the Capitol. Go in there, whispering, and people, by the way, he was at the main
He was like in
point
the
of
huddle.
entry.
He was like, go to the Capitol.
Yeah, and go ahead.
And in your video, he tried to discredit the fact that you saw these videos on Twitter. It's like that's a very it's not doctored video.
Oh, he hit the
know,
light.
like that-
It's like the people that go like this. Where do you get your news? Oh, YouTube. I have a cousin that's like, really? YouTube? You didn't get it on MSNBC or CNN?
Yeah.
So I have a clip. You guys want to see before I go into the facts? Kelly, do you want to see the clip?
Let's roll that.
We're going to show everybody the clip. There's 2 clips. And mind you, guys, I almost had to go to the hospital because I either was going to have an aneurysm or a heart attack.
Your
I'm
vein
red.
almost popped out.
This one I'm red. The other one I'm a Macintosh Apple. So Kelly, go ahead, play it. In better shape now than when Trump was in? Are you happy with what's going on? You and your Lincoln Project, but mind you, the biggest hypocrites, you guys were going after him for Russian collusion and tax evading. That's what you guys were doing. All your people, you were the only one that was innocent. The rest of them were perverted. One of them was a Russian agent. One of them owes $390,000 in a tax lien in his house, and the other guy went to court from American Express for not paying his $30,000 tax bill. You guys are the biggest hypocrites. The biggest hypocrites. You guys hate the man. You guys just hate the man. With the policies and what he did for this country. I'm happy. Listen, it didn't have to be him, Steve. It could have been a fucking turtle. He woke us up. He told people, hey, look at this curtain. Look at what these assholes are doing. Fake news, and it's all bullshit. Oh, next one. Yeah, we got one more. Nice. I almost had a heart attack. This one's real heart attack. This one's like about to explode.
Look at your eyes.
Yeah.
So scary.
You mean to tell me Donald Trump, 2016, we found, this is a fact. This isn't BS. I made this up. 2016, fact, all right? The Durham report. Hillary Clinton, DNC, FBI, they all colluded to say he...
None of that. No, it's true. So you're full of shit right now. Number one, 100% true. She paid for the dossier and did all that shit. So wait. So Donald Trump is crazy to think that they would cheat again? Are you kidding me? You mean having the FBI
There's no evidence of voter fraud of any type whatsoever anywhere.
By the way,
guys, if you guys notice, Taylor, he's shuffling papers. Those weren't even his papers.
Yeah.
He was grabbing patches. He's like, oh yeah, sure. I'm like, hey, that's my birth certificate. You got that on my backpack.
Talk about nervous Ted.
But, yeah, he's very nervous. So guys, I'm gonna just really fast because I want to move on to the next story. Just some facts of January 6th. The only person who died, Ashley Babbitt. The chief of police, Steve Stund, in an interview with Tucker Carlson and other interviews, said the FBI, DHS, and the military knew about the threats of violence, but the chief of Capitol Police was in the dark about it on purpose, right? January 4th, the military wrote a memo stating restricting National Guard from carrying weapons, dealing with protesters. So think about this. You know it's going down. There's threats of violence. The chief of police, who's, by the way, that's not just a regular chief of regular police. The chief of Capitol Police, your clearance, Joel, is bananas, bro. He's top secret. Yeah. He's protecting the main people in Congress, and you know what I mean? So General Milley was using a data miner, which is an intelligence platform that crawls across websites looking for threats. He received intelligence of people threatening violence to members of Congress. Didn't tell this chief. It's almost as if they knew shit was going down, so they kind of went like this, let it happen, so they could do exactly what the hell they're doing right now. Hitler did it with Reichstag, where they burned down their own parliament, and they're like, hey, these communists, these guys did it, and he grows to power because of that one event.
Putin.
So did Putin.
Yeah. Does that remind you of anything else where the government may have turned a blind eye to something that impacted our civil liberties for the next
Never let a good crisis go to waste.
Like 9/11, where there's a lot of controversy when it comes to 9/11, which you bring up in this argument. Yeah. One of the most offensive things I think about the comparison is you're talking. It's sad what happened to Ashley Babbitt. It's sad when anybody dies. 9/11. 2,977 people died, American citizens who weren't servicemen, not to mention the first responders who have died of cancers afterwards. And think about the families that were impacted by that, the amount of children whose dads and moms went to an office building on the 98th floor, never came home, and those kids grew up in a life. But Pete Davidson, his father was a New York City firefighter. Though, to say that, that is the most, to me, it's more un-American what you're saying in this instance, comparing that to January 6th, than what the people on January 6th did. I know that sounds retarded, and I'm not even allowed to use that word.
Yes, you are.
But it is that comparison. It makes me question, how are you somebody that was getting officials elected?
He also said
scary.
He said it was worse than Pearl Harbor.
He did add that too.
He added that too.
Kamala Harris said the same thing, and Rob.
And they made the comparison.
Their talking point.
And we talked about this. What really bothers me is, because 9/11 sticks out for me. I was 14 when it happened. It changed my vision on life. All of a sudden it became, the shit you see in movies can really happen in real life.
It was like the Kennedy assassination for my parents.
Exactly.
There's these moments in history. Yes.
Generational.
Yeah. So it already had a profound impact on me. But then to hear when they excused Biden not going to the 9/11 ceremony because presidents still don't go to Pearl Harbor 60, 70 years later. Well, hey, it's a terrible comparison. The people that were killed in Pearl Harbor, most were military. There was and it sucks. There were 200 innocent civilians that were killed on that day, but the majority of those people were servicemen. The people on 9/11 that went into those buildings were not, they were everyday workers.
And with 9/11, then what changed? They passed legislation that impacted our life.
The Patriot Act.
And you were saying, so what story are they trying to impact with the infiltration of January 6th? Because you think about Operation Mockingbird, what would they do? They were trying to create these stories so that they can push legislation or different things that would change the way we live our life. So what were they trying to do with
think about it,
January
Kelly.
6th?
Think about it. It's, you know what it is? It's, even if you're questioning, even if, guess what? We're cheating. If you even try to protest in this type of, because mind you, I respect these people. Some of them, there was hooligans. There's people doing stupid shit. Some people were threatening violence. But guess what? When you have a problem with the system, you go to the fucking source. You don't burn down your city. You don't burn down your own people's businesses. You don't burn down churches. You don't do none of that dumb shit. You go to the damn the belly of the beast.
100%.
That's where you go. And Rob, you missed.
Those are peaceful protests, by the way.
Oh yeah, my bad. When the churches are on fire in the background. You missed a Rob. You said almost 3,000 Americans, first responders, aftermath, cancer. What about our soldiers that we sent overseas to fight
the 20 years of your
and a million? And by the way, a million. Think about it. Men, women, children, Iraqis, everybody, for a war that was a lie that they knew from the beginning, because weapons of mass destruction. And then you see Bush Jr. That's why people are always like, Vinny, you're a Republican. I go, I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm a patriot. I'm an American. Guess what? Bush, I can give two shits about him, because remember he was making jokes. He's like, there's no weapons of mass destruction over here. They were making fun of the fact that, and then they changed the name of the war once we got there. They're like, it's not Iraqi, it's enduring freedom.
Take a deep breath.
War on terrorism.
Remember, my favorite.
You look like the apple again.
Do I? Let me see that. No, look.
Think about what it did, though. So it was a narrative shift. So what was happening before the Capitol thing? So everybody's focused on, all right, well, is it possible to overturn the election? All right, the senators are going to testify. It was actually a thing that was up in the air. People were fighting for it. But then 6 hours later, after that, all the Republicans who were going to fight for it immediately flipped.
Why do you think that happened?
Why did they flip?
Why would they flip? Brandon, like, you know what, we're not even gonna fight this.
So it's political suicide in their eyes at that point, because people like Boebert, Hawley, they were all 100% on board, like trying to turn it and recount for Trump and all that, but they went down with their heads down and all that.
Wow.
Like, I can't do the same.
They're weak, and they have no spines. And but they classified it, and it's always the same case, Rob, as an intelligence failure. How many more times are we gonna have intelligence failures by the FBI, by the Department of Justice? Bro, change the name. Unintelligent, like.
Well, it's like they're either incompetent or it's on purpose.
I think it's on. They can't listen to me.
How can they be that incompetent?
I don't think so, because mind you, they know everything. They hear everything. They're not stupid, and I think it's naive for the American public, which, mind you, their trust for the government is the lowest it's ever been.
And media.
And media.
It goes one. It's funny how they're both at all-time lows at the same time.
In the history of America, the regular American person does not trust the media and the government. So guess what? We don't trust you. We don't trust you guys. It's guys, and I'm happy that people are waking up. At the same token, it's worth the fight. So so almost done. The chief of police, son, he tried to testify. They wouldn't let him. Why not? Pelosi was she was off limits to anything about this whole situation. She was recording. She was spreading all these freaking lies. No phone record subpoenaed. By the way, in 71 minutes, this chief called 17 agencies, got zero help. What else? Oh, and then Michael Stenger. This is the one that sticks out for me. Michael Stenger was a former Senate sergeant at arms who oversaw security during the Capitol insurrection. He died 1 day before the hearing. The guy.
He got Clinton.
It's just, is it just odd that every time something like this happens, they're like, oh God, this person just happened to die.
Dude, and how about the news article that came out when that happened? There's literally an NBC article that said Michael Stinger's death is considered not suspicious by the court.
Yeah, how do you know?
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's super suspicious. The fact that you put out the article saying not suspicious.
They have to tell you it's not suspicious. Don't worry.
Not highly suspicious. And then there's no explanation for his death either. You go on his Wikipedia thing, it says death not explained.
And dude, here's the thing. So my point being, if all the intelligence is coming in, you know what's going down, you know what's happening. The chief of police of the Capitol goes, guys, I need help. It's going down, and he got zero help. It's not incompetence. It's on purpose.
Didn't they request
which is worse?
extra National Guard there?
On purpose is worse.
Incompetence, like that our government is that stupid? Is that worse? Or that it's incompetent, they're that evil?
No, evil is
evil and stupid.
Incompetence.
It's all evil.
Incompetence is, hey, idiot, make this phone call next time. Evil is, no, we don't want the phone call to happen. Everybody turn your back, let it go down. Let it happen, because, and like some people would say, 9/11, Building 7, all these, listen to me, that happening has expanded us. In those years, bro, we are everywhere in the Middle East. We've expanded, and the security of the American public is
the surveillance is
forget about it.
Yeah.
Vinny, they also requested, I believe, for additional National Guard to be there, and it got denied.
100%. He begged for it, and they said no.
Guess what time they got there? 6 p.m. at night.
6 p.m. Oh, but the New Jersey, apparently the New Jersey State Troopers got there before the National Guard, which is from a different state. But anyway, all right, guys, we're going to move on because I could talk about this all day. But Steve Schmidt, I still love you because God tells me I'm supposed to love my enemies. But anyway, Rob, we're going to go to Rob. Former MLB player Trevor Bauer, who's ridiculously good, a former LA Dodger pitcher who won the Cy Young in 2020. Is he playing in Japan right now? He's playing in Japan. He just settled a legal dispute with his accuser, and he revealed some damaging messages. Rob, what do you got to tell us about the story?
In the post-Me Too era that we find ourselves in, I started thinking about this case and wondering if social justice now supersedes criminal justice. You look at the story of Trevor Bauer, and we're going to go through the timeline quickly. There's a lot to this timeline.
That's fine.
It's a timeline that goes back April 21st of 2021, when a woman, we now know her name, Lindsay Hill, met Trevor Bauer, who is, by the way, an all-star MLB first-teamer.
Sick.
An NL Cy Young Award winner. He's an NL ERA leader. He's the winner of the Golden Spikes Award and the 2011 National Pitcher of the Year. So this guy's an accomplished dude.
He was a stud.
Recently signed, by the way, February 5th of 2021, a 3-year, $102 million contract. $102 million. Did you hear that, Brady?
I did. That's pretty sweet.
Los Angeles.
LA.
That's when he got signed. Okay.
3 years, $102 million.
I remember when he came out, because he played for, I think, Arizona, then he was with Cleveland for a while.
Yeah, nasty.
And that's where he blew up in Cleveland. I'm a baseball guy. That's where my history's from. And he came out, Bauer outage, he was everywhere. And just to study, he was the long toss guy. His warm-ups, he's throwing a ball from a foul pole to a foul pole.
He's sick.
I mean, just incredible.
Star athlete.
Yeah.
Yes.
Top of the game.
So he meets this woman April 21st, Lindsay Hill. They have consensual intercourse. Brandon, I'm sure with your suit,
you know what's up.
You probably have an NDA that you make people sign before you guys make a coitus. May 16th, 25 days after they have sex.
Okay.
Lindsay Hill goes to the emergency room at Alvarado Hospital where her injuries are examined and she's interviewed by police. On June 28th, Hill is granted a temporary violence restraining order, alleging that when she met Trevor Bauer on the 21st of April, that she had been physically and sexually assaulted by him on not one, but 2 occasions.
Whoa.
The woman went on to claim that Bauer had sodomized her without her consent.
I hate that.
Punched her in the face and choked her to the point of unconsciousness with her own hair. I don't understand. And that's a whole separate weird thing.
They're having fun.
That's a different show.
That's a different show.
That's a different show.
This is for Sauce Cat.
I'm married. If I touch my wife's hair, I get yelled at. I can't imagine putting it around her neck. It's like, no. We have to go to war. No. We have to go to war. Bauer, on his part, he acknowledged having sexual contact with the woman, but stated the encounters were wholly consensual and that his accuser sent him text messages requesting that he inflict pain upon her. July 2nd of 2021. Bauer is placed on administrative leave by Major League Baseball. Let's fast forward to August of 2021. It's the 20th of August. The restraining order is lifted. The judge rules that Bauer is not a threat to the woman who's accusing him of sexual assault on 2 occasions. In fact, the judge found that the woman was not ambiguous about wanting rough sex in the party's first encounter and wanting rough sex in the second encounter, stating that she clearly made clear to him that she wanted to have sex. In fact, Trevor Bauer releases text messages that was where incredible. The woman says, I want all the pain. All of it, guys. It's a lot. I want you to dominate me. I want you to be rough with me. Are you sure this is what you want? To which the Bauer actually asked the woman that. Are you sure you want me to be this rough? And the woman texts back, yes, I'm sure.
Holy shit.
It looks really bad, the photos that come out for Trevor Bauer of the woman. That happened. Again, the photos were taken 25 days. She goes to the hospital 25 days later. I would assume those photos were taken 25 days after their sexual encounter. So let's fast forward a little bit quicker. The timeline, the restraining order gets lifted. That is on August 20th. So the restraining order is lifted. 20 days later, on September 10th, Major League Baseball and the Players Union extends Bauer's leave through the remainder of the 2021 season. So criminally, they're looking at this guy and going, you're not a threat. But yet Major League Baseball is still taking the stance that they have to suspend him.
Yeah, it's their optics, obviously.
September 13th, 3 days later, the San Diego District Attorney's Office announces it's not going to file criminal charges against Trevor Bauer. In February of 2022, almost a year after the alleged encounter, the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office follows suit and says they will not be filing any criminal charges against Trevor Bauer.
And did they say why, Rob? Did they say because of lack of evidence?
Oh, citing a lack of evidence. Oh, so they don't have enough evidence. And these text messages seem pretty damning on the woman's behalf as far as the sex being consensual and rough and consensual. I want all the pain, as we read earlier. So that happens February 8th, almost 3 months later, 2 months later, April 29th. Major League Baseball, 2 separate police investigations. The county and locally both declined to press charges. The restraining orders lifted. Major League Baseball makes a decision to suspend Trevor Bauer for 324 games. They cite that he violated the league's joint domestic violence, sexual assault, and child abuse policy.
Where's the child abuse come from?
It becomes he's the first player ever to appeal the suspension, which eventually got cut in half to 194 games. However, it was the longest non-lifetime suspension that has ever been issued in Major League Baseball history.
That's freaking nuts.
Insane.
For something that it turns out he didn't do. Trevor Bauer potentially loses $37.5 million as a result of missing those 194 games, to the point where a Cy Young award-winning pitcher is now pitching in Japan.
Dude.
Have you ever seen how tiny the Japanese are? It's a weird sport to watch. They're so tiny, like little leaguers. He's pitching against little leaguers, and the guy weighed $103 million with his contract.
How much did they give him, Rob? Money-wise?
Well, I mean, if he lost, what was it?
He's going to make a lot of money.
He'll make a lot of,
I mean, he'll go through a lot of crap, but there's going to be a lot more.
Because this guy could clearly have a lawsuit, in my opinion, against Major League Baseball. He did nothing wrong. They knew that he did nothing wrong, and yet social justice trumped criminal justice, and this guy now loses. Like he's lost important years in his career, his mid-20s or late 20s, early 30s.
Major League Baseball's going to pay. ESPN's going to pay. The Washington Post, the Atlantic. That's who the other one that went after him right away.
And this is the most interesting story. We're going to play this clip real quick. This is a video Trevor Bauer released yesterday. He has settled his lawsuit with his accuser.
With the female.
With no money.
No money exchanged.
Except the woman's insurance company is paying her $300,000. So either way, the woman who may or may not have made these claims up, I don't know, I wasn't there that night, for all the pain, she still gets a $300,000 payout. Now, a third of that goes to the lawyers, a third goes to the government. You're still getting $100,000 for this. It's very odd when you watch this video to look at this situation and go, this guy did anything wrong. And it just adds to the list of people, which I'll read you, in the post-Me Too era, who have been convicted socially. Criminally, they have been not held liable for any of the accusations. Most of the charges cleared against them, and yet their lives and careers have been ruined. Can we cue the tape, Kelly?
Yes.
Next victim, star pitcher for the Dodgers. A text Lindsey Hill sent to a friend before she ever even met me. What should I steal? She asked another, in reference to visiting my house for the first time. The answer? Take his money. So how might that work? I'm going to his house Wednesday, she said. I already have my hooks in. You know how I roll. Then, after the first time we met, net worth is $51 million, she said. Bitch, you better secure the bag, was the response.
Wait till the next one comes.
But how is she going to do that? Need daddy to choke me out, she said. Being an absolute whore to try to get in on his $51 million, read another text. Then, after the second time we met, former Padres pitcher Jacob Nix told her, you got to get this bag. I'll give you $50,000, Lindsey replied. Her AA sponsor asked her at one point, do you feel a tiny bit guilty? Not really, she replied. Since then, the legal team has approached me multiple times about coming to a financial settlement. But as I have done since day one, I refuse to pay her even a single cent. In August of 2021, Lindsey Hill's claims were heard in court. And during those legal proceedings, critical information was deliberately and unlawfully concealed from me and my legal team. Information like this video, which was taken by Lindsey Hill herself the morning after she claimed she was brutally attacked, emotionally traumatized, and desperate to get away from me. And now we have the metadata, so there can be no dispute. It was taken mere minutes before she left my house on the morning of May 16th, 2021, without my knowledge or consent, of course. In it, you can see her lying in bed next to me while I'm sleeping, smirking at the camera without a care in the world, or any marks on her face. I think it paints a pretty clear picture of what actually happened the evening of May 15th and why the video was originally concealed from us.
What?
Yeah.
So,
what?
just one quick thing. Again,
scary.
they met on April 21st. She accuses him of being sexually abusive in two separate occasions. So April 21st, then again on May 15th, the day before that video comes out of her laying in bed. Clearly no marks on the woman. And that's the day where she goes to the hospital and gets photographs taken and claims she was sexually assaulted. The guy lost $37 million the best years of his career, and this woman gets $300,000. I feel like we're at a point where the tides have turned and it's no longer you're innocent until proven guilty. If you're a man in this country, you are guilty until proven innocent.
I agree.
Good fucking luck.
Yeah, I agree. Dude, and think about how scary as shit. I mean, dude, like that's the worst thing too. Imagine being a good person, going through your life, focusing just on your craft.
Yeah.
He's probably had girlfriends. Obviously, he's obviously kind of freaky, but that is what it is. But once you're at that level and that stature, how the hell can you trust any girl that you're ever gonna meet? Like how?
And it worries me as a father of two young boys. It goes now, like it's a different age. It's a different time. My dad told me, like, hey, you gotta be careful, you know, like dating chicks. But clearly not an issue. Right? It wasn't like I was beating him away with a fucking stick. So, like, when I had sex, I was lucky it was happening. I was grateful. It wasn't something that was against anybody.
I was like, I can touch your hair.
That ended years ago. But yeah, as a father of children, and what really concerns me is some of the guys that have gotten caught up in the Me Too movement. Aziz Ansari, comedian, was accused of sexual misconduct by a woman who wrote a blog post about the experience. In 2019, a joint investigation found that the woman's account was not credible. Nick Carter, the Backstreet Boys singer, I didn't know any of them were into chicks. He was accused of sexual assault by multiple women. However, in 2020, a Los Angeles judge dismissed the charges against him. They even got Sylvester Stallone. The actor was accused of sexual assault by a woman who said that it happened in 1986 but didn't report it until 2018. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department did an investigation and closed the case. I could go on. Gerard Depardieu, Luc Besson, a French filmmaker, Tyler Gresham.
Julian Assange, everybody.
Patrick Kane. The amount of people that have been, because it became, hey, we have to believe all women. We have to believe. And listen, there's a large amount of women out there who are sexually assaulted and don't report it because they fear the repercussion. But there are instances of women making up these allegations and the men being found guilty before they were allowed to prove their innocence.
That's kind of, I wanted to go there for a second because I think like there's got to be some type of charges brought against women like this. Like they need to create some type of like false accusation registry or something like that because the thing that upsets me is that this discredits the women that actually go through that. Right? So now the women that are actually abused are going to be second guessed, like, oh, did it really happen to you? When it really did, right? She's taking this and it's just manipulating and it's hurting women who are actual victims. I agree. And that upsets me.
And what it also does is these same women are the ones that influence the culture to be like, oh, men are so evil, men are so bad, and it's like they're the ones that. And I actually am curious on your guys' opinion because when I think about, he's like, oh, I want him to choke me, all these things that are influenced from like Instagram, pop culture, that women like this aggressive sex and all that, and I would say the majority of women do not. And so, I think it's like a facade. Like, oh, they want to do all these things because that's what culture is saying. But I think most of women actually don't want that. And then the ones that portray themselves to do, look what happens. And then you think of like Cardi B. She would say the same things. Then there's allegations. Then they're actually going after the men, but they promote themselves like, oh, I want this rough sex. This is what I like. And then it happens. Oh, now the guy's bad.
Yeah. It comes down to one saying though, just. Crazy in the bed means crazy in the head. Like, that's it.
If there's a freak in the sheets, something in the streets.
And she likes to eat meat. But it's great. But he does make a good point here. Like, I think, like, dude, one night stands and meeting an athlete, like, dude, I've had, trust me, crazy, wild nights. But I think.
Oh, yeah?
I think that's.
Sorry.
Bro, trust me, I was with we're going to get into that later. But wait, I was with a girl that almost choked me out. I was like, I can't. She was leaning on me. That's neither here nor there. But anyway, my point is, like, I think, like, once you're with somebody and you're comfortable with them and you have a relationship, then you're
But that's different.
100% different. How long were they dating, Rob, before all this?
I think they only met a handful of times.
Yeah. But for her to set him up like that, I agree with Joel. You got some criminal. Something has to be done because not only the life is ruined. By the way, his name, because you know how people are right now. Now, if you just see Trevor Bauer, the majority of people, Rob, they didn't do this research. They didn't see that clip. They're gonna see him and be like, "You rapist, piece of trash."
Yep.
And now his kids, when he has kids and everything, for the rest of his life, his name is going to be tarnished. He can't have that Men in Black thing that goes, bing, forget all this. You're screwed for the rest of your life.
ESPN, The Atlantic, they both came out with articles shortly after it happened just bashing him.
So quick question, Joel, before we wrap up. How much money, if you had to guess collectively, you think he's going to get from everybody collectively for defamation?
I think it's going to be more than his contract for the Dodgers.
Yeah,
it's going to be over 103.
Like losses and then future losses.
Yep.
Just in losses alone at $37 million, and you're taking
he's
away.
He's going to make more than his contract was. He's going to have to go through a lot of crap, but. You know,
but he already has.
Okay. Yeah.
So now you're used to it. Now you get to monetize from it. Good for him.
Rob, next story, but I just want one question. Then don't BS us because I think everybody wants to know. Tonight, are you going to try to choke your wife with like your beard?
No, I'm going to kiss her on the cheek and say goodnight, Dorian. And then I go sleep on the couch like normal.
Like a real man.
Yeah.
All right, that's so. You choke me. You're like, no, I don't do it. All right, guys, moving on. So, Joel. Some of us have seen RFK. Did he announce it yet?
He hasn't.
He hasn't announced it, but RFK has hinted that he's going to be running as an independent, which I think would be dope. So, what kind of impact do you think Joel is going to have on both sides, and what's your opinion on the whole situation?
Yeah, so I think it's going to be very interesting to see what happens, because as history shows, when a legit third party is running, it's not good news for the incumbent president.
Incumbent? Oh, wow. That's crazy.
It's not good. I have it here in 92.
Perot.
Yeah, Perot undercut Bush. And then in 1912, Teddy Roosevelt hurt Taft and made a pathway for Wilson to get in office. So this has implications. A lot of people on the left say, oh, well, it's good because it's going to take votes away from Trump.
Yeah.
But a lot of people on the right are like, well, you know, there's going to be a pretty big impact on Biden's numbers as well and how they vote, because, I mean, RFK Jr. is an environmental lawyer, right? So like that's, you know, and with the climate change and the environment stuff, that's something that a lot of people on the left really cling to and are really supportive of. He's also, you know, will pull votes from the right with his anti-pharma, big pharma stance on things. And then he'll also get the anti-Trump people and people that don't want to vote for Biden to kind of come into the middle where he's at. And so it's just going to be very interesting to play out. I just want to kind of open it up and see what you guys think about it, because it could be extremely impactful for the 2024 election.
What are the odds, and I'm going to ask, excuse me, Brandon, what are the odds, Joel, of this actually happening? Because I heard this a week ago on the PBD podcast. What are the chances? Like, is he going to do it?
I mean, October 9th, he says he's got a special announcement coming out. So I'm pretty sure we're going to find out then. But I mean, I would say over a 50% chance. I'm saying like 60, because he knows, 70% chance.
He knows the left. Just how they did Bernie dirty, they're not going to give him a chance. No. That's the guy that I would love. Dude, I'm so mad that the left, the incumbent, they don't debate. At least have something. I can care less about Newsom sitting with
Kennedy.
DeSantis. I don't want to see any of you people. I want to see that guy speak, because he's been around the block, bro. And if anybody I want to hear, and anybody that I would vote for, is somebody that's, we want to talk about having blood in the skin in the game. That guy has lost a uncle and a father that was murdered, and we found out that our government was somehow involved. Brandon, what do you think?
Yeah, no, so this is exciting. It's an absolute chaos grenade, and, you know, I usually have a pretty good feel for how these things will impact it, but he really can pull from both sides, because, you know, people will peg him as a, you know, climate activist, but also he talks a lot of crap about the establishment, you know, so I think he could probably get like 10 to 15% of the vote overall, but it's really hard to say like which side that'll pull from. And
you can't get Brandon. Would you be able to guess if he's going? Sorry to cut you off, Joe.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Do you think, because from what I heard, he's more popular with the Republicans than the Democrats, because they're told to hate him.
Yeah, but a lot of them were like, I talked to a lot of Democrats who were willing to vote for DeSantis over Trump, or excuse me, DeSantis over Biden before DeSantis went all crazy with the abortion stuff, because people just they hate Trump that much that they they don't want to vote for Biden, but they can't make themselves vote for Trump. But any alternative, including DeSantis, going super far right, they were willing to go for. So I think there's a ton of Democrats that would go for RFK. So I think it's a matter of if he can get on the ballot, and that comes down to signatures and financing. So he has to raise like $100 million, I believe,
Jeez.
and he has to get a certain amount of signatures, which it's much harder when you're outside the party. And I'll talk about this later, and I talk about it all the time, but it's a much harder route for you if you're outside the DNC or the RNC, because they have like a machine set up that helps push you through. But if you're outside, like you're running as an independent, you have to kind of do all that yourself. And he has the resources to a degree to do it, and the name recognition. So that's really what it comes down to, is being able to rally support around you.
So he needs what'd you say, about $100 million? He could just ask Steve Schmidt and the Lincoln Project, be like, hey, can I borrow a couple $100 million? Because they'll give it to him.
Yeah. And I think he could with his connections. I would say two things on him. One, when he's running as an independent, and when people are like, oh, it's going to hurt one part or the other, I really don't see a problem with that. I actually think it's a good thing, because there should be a mix. And I actually think he's the right guy to do it, because he's very controversial. So I would love to see him run either way, because he's going to go after the vaccines, because he has a lot of issues when it comes to the government and his uncle and his, like what you were talking about.
Yeah.
So I think he'll be that bowl in a china shop, whatever it says.
I love that saying, so that annoying.
Yeah, and he'll give good conversations to actually debate. So I would actually love to see it. I don't think it would do anything as far as like, I don't think he'd actually be president, especially if you're to run it as a third party. But I think the conversations that he would spark are necessary.
I think so too. What do you think, Robbie?
I don't think people are in love with politics right now because of the two people who are the front runners, and those two people are Trump and Biden, and they're burnout. And I think that RFK offers a new opportunity. It's almost new hope. Like, I remember feeling, because I was a dumb liberal college kid when Barack Obama was running for president, and the message that got everybody on board was hope, a better future.
Change.
But I actually look at this guy and I go, he can offer us change, because it is breaking out of these two molds that they won't let him. The Democrats will not allow him to get. It's not. They're not even having debates. So it's Biden is their guy, unless there's some type of unfortunate accident. This guy is going to be their candidate for 2024. I don't know how you put him on a stage, because the guy can't get through a sentence. And I'll go back to this time and time again. But I watched Trump at the Turning Point USA event in Palm Beach. You were there. You were there. The guy went on for an hour and 47 minutes, stood, like, I'm not confident Biden can stand for 47 seconds.
No.
This guy stood for an hour and 47 minutes and delivered a speech. And a lot of it was, oh, woe is me. Like, there was that, I am the victim here. These people have done.
But also entertaining. Like, he captivates an audience for an hour and 45 minutes.
And when he says the names, like Meatball Ron, the place erupts. And he's a
stand-up comedian.
He said Ron DeSantis, and this isn't Ron DeSantis' home state. It's Palm Beach. I can't think of a more red county than the center of the state. And they're going, boo! Like, they hate, like, it was like he got up there and he goes, how about that Osama bin Laden? Like, that was the level of hate at that event. So I think people are burned out on both sides. Democrats don't, I think the majority of Democrats, if they had to say it wouldn't be Biden, that's their first choice. And I think if the majority of Republicans also had to say, an actual say, it wouldn't be Trump that's their first either.
And a scary thing for him, it's like, bro, look what they've already done to his family with his father and his uncle. In LA a couple weeks ago at a Hispanic heritage thing, some guy dressed as a U.S. Marshal tried to step up to him, and guess what? They grabbed him, and guess what? What was he doing there? And I have people in LA, they're like, oh, you think he was going to try to assassinate him? Why is he trying to get close to that guy in California, a couple miles away from where his father was shot and killed?
And they won't provide him Secret Service.
Which is, like, he's written letters. He's written letters to the Biden administration. He's like, I'm the only presidential candidate that doesn't have secret. That's almost saying like this, hey, guy, we can give two shits if they kill you. So he's
and that's why I think he's going to run third party, because him running as a third party is almost him kind of flipping off the Democratic Party and saying, hey, I'm going to do this, because I think Trump can't get to 50%, right? He can't get to 50%. There's too many people that hate him, but can he pull Biden under 48%? Because Real Clear Politics has Trump at 45%, and the real question is, can RFK potentially pull Biden's below 48%.
What do you think, Brandon? Yes or no?
So yeah, actually, a poll came out this year that said 60% of America identifies as politically independent, and that's up from 25% 20 years ago. So it literally flipped. It used to be 35 for Democrat and Republican. Now those went down to 25 each.
Jeez.
And independent went up to like 60%. So there's a ton of people that are just totally done with both sides.
They're so done.
Well,
and
you get put in a bind too, because like I don't identify myself politically as a Republican or Democrat. Like I would consider myself a constitutional conservative. Like I'm not either side, but I try to lean towards that most support my beliefs.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people in that same position where you only have two parties. You're kind of, all right, lesser of two evils, or I guess I'll have to vote for this person because of this. Like, it puts people in a weird spot.
I also think people are getting disenfranchised with the system as a whole. When Tucker came back to Twitter, he made a really great point. He goes, drive around the cities of this country, go for a road trip and see the cities and see that the infrastructure is collapsing. See that the people that are driving their cars, they're not smiling, they're not happy. These people are struggling. And that's the majority of Americans. Now, the majority of Americans have had both. You had Trump in 2016. So you've recently, in the past 8 years, you've had both a Republican regime in office and a Democrat machine in office or candidate. And guess what? Your lives haven't gotten any better. The majority of Americans are still struggling, and the people who could use the money to do better, we send billions of dollars to Ukraine instead. So I think most people are disenfranchised with the system. They see him and they go, hey, that could get us out of this.
Yeah, and if I may quickly, when it comes to RFK, I have a family member, and I think what he talks a lot about is like COVID and the vaccines, and they were all gun-ho on that, thought I was crazy because I was like, yeah, this is super sketchy, I'm not doing this. But now one of them actually listened to the Joe Rogan podcast with RFK and posted like the system's effed, for lack of a better word. But that was so huge that someone that I know personally was gun-ho on the vaccines, gun-ho on all these things, listened to that and was like, the system is not right. So my question is, if he's going to take away from the Democrat, I actually think they do, because there are people that are reasonable, that saw everything that went on, that agreed with COVID, all of that. But now we see what's going on. Like not everyone did die. Why did you shut down the business? Now we're seeing the ramifications of that. I think there's a good portion that aren't just going to go right back into that. And that's like a big thing that he talks about. So I think he will pull those people, those moderate people that just want things to go back to normal.
But which one? But my question is, so you have Biden and you have Trump. Who do you think is going to benefit the most of that, like that vote takeaway, Brandon? Like, is there going to be more of the Trump? Because let's not be stupid. Trump is the lead. Trump could run from prison, which it might wind up doing it. Trump, or who's going to hurt more, Biden? Because you said it was more of the incumbent that gets injured.
But when there's a legit third party.
From the stat that I heard, the poll that I read was he got more support from Republicans because he's so anti-vax. Democrats are waiting in line still right now for another vaccine shot.
But how many of them?
A lot. Oh, what do you mean? I know people that are proud taking photos right now.
Seriously?
I lived in Los Angeles for 16 years. They want more Jews.
They can't be saved.
They
can't be booster.
And these are the people, and that's the problem. But dude, here's the thing. And the left is brilliant. Say what you want. Brilliant at making everybody get fatigued on the Trump. But none of you forget. They cheated. He was pissed. He wants redemption. If you saw his face in the courtroom in New York, the camera goes to him. The judge is laughing and having a good time. Donald Trump is like this, bro. The man is on a mission, and when the court doors flew open, he was like, this is a sham. Kiss my ass. The judge looks weird. But it's like, and guys, I get it. I'm fatigued. I'm tired as well. But what's fair is fair, and say what you want. Say what you want, and I'm going to make just a quick point about the political, the voting, all that process. They cheated once. It should scare everybody because Trump, at some point, guys, maybe this one, if he wins 4 years, is going bye-bye. What the left is doing with the system and the mail-in voting and by the way, the timing of COVID coming out of China and all these things that compiled up. By the way, mail-in absentee ballots used to be 30% to 70%. It flipped. It's 70% now that are absentee, and they made it 9 states where you could. Everybody's mandatory to do it. So it should scare everybody that, like Trump, okay, whatever. think about the future of everything being set up to where whoever that they want in is going to win, and it's going to keep on going. So
I would like to see a comeback story of Trump, and I would also like to see Trump as president without the fear of having to run for a second term.
Oh, that would be great.
You asked Brandon a question. I'd love to hear his input.
Because we have 2 minutes. Go ahead.
Yeah. What do you think RFK, which party do you think RFK takes more votes from? The Democrats or the Republicans?
Yeah, so it kind of comes down to, when looking at the Ross Perot situation, which one is the person more similar to? So, you know, Perot's more similar to George Bush Sr., but like a less conservative version of him. So the question is, who's RFK more similar to between Trump and Biden? And I'd say he's probably more similar to Trump, but there's such a dissatisfaction rate with Biden. You know, even most Democrats hate Biden. I don't think any Democrat probably likes Biden. So I literally, maybe this is a weak answer, but I literally could see him taken from both of them and making this like a 30%, 30%.
So do you think it matters what he,
flip?
What do you think that does it matter what he campaigns on? If he focuses, if he leans in on the environmental stuff, then he loses the right. But if he leans in on the vaccine stuff, he loses the left. So what's that balance?
I think the balance is to be pro-choice for abortion. If Trump's going to be, more pro-life in abortion, because that's just not a popular topic. That's something that puts a lot of Democrats away. But also being, pro-freedom in the sense of cutting taxes, not being hard on COVID and stuff like that. Getting the economy going again, decreased regulation, drill for oil, pipeline,
borders.
Borders.
Okay. And guess what? I will say this. If
You're hired.
If he mentions, when did you say, Joel, what day?
The 9th, October 9th.
On the 9th, he better, because he's not getting any Secret Service, he better beef up his security, bro. Because if he's going to be taking votes away from the left, they're going to be like, now you're not even on our side anymore. Good luck, buddy.
Hey, Hillary.
Hey, Hillary.
We got something that needs to be done here.
Letters. RFK, which is not funny, but it is
It's a difficult road, but it just comes down to media and money. Like, how much money can you get and how much media attention you get, And so if he captivates enough people to get a lot of money, that's one. Then if he can go on a ton of podcasts, then that's two with media. So it's possible.
I got you. Okay, guys, we're going to move on. Taylor, so you sent me this story, which I looked into, and it was absolutely nuts. I've been seeing a lot of these weird, crazy sex trafficking stories. So authorities in Ohio arrested at least 160 people who are patrons of sex workers as part of a week-long crackdown on human trafficking throughout the state. Taylor has a scoop. Taylor, holler at us.
Yes. So reading this story, which is crazy, and I feel like there's so much going on when it comes to sex trafficking. Obviously, the movie recently that came out about sex trafficking. But in this article, it goes on to say about it goes, law enforcement across Ohio teamed up for an effort. I think 149 of the 160 were men that were arrested for allegedly seeking to have sex with minors. Another 6 were arrested for promoting prostitution. And in the article, it goes on to continue that prostitution is illegal in Ohio, but there's groups like the UCLA that actually say that they want to decriminalize prostitution. Yeah, so decriminalizing sex work when it comes to this. And so I want to open it up to all of you. When it comes to prostitution, do you feel that it should be illegal or legal?
Who you want to ask first?
Yeah, so I am in the camp of 55% of me thinks that it probably would be net positive if it was legal, because think about, why is human trafficking a big problem? Because there's obviously a demand for sex for people who can't get laid, and that's a tragic thing that's
Don't talk badly about us. Sorry, did I say that out loud?
No, so it's a gross thing that there's this situation where people get kidnapped and get offered out to people who are gross and trying to get that, whatever. But there's also a ton of people who would try to make money by offering sex, and I think people should be free to do that if they want to do it. And if that was legal, then there wouldn't be this situation where people are trying to kidnap people and offer them as sex workers. Because same thing with drugs. If you legalize drugs, then there's not this criminal network that's selling drugs, because it's hard to get on the free market, So make it legal. Then
come on.
What?
There's still people selling. I mean, I'm not going to name names, but there's people that sell weed illegally, and it's legal here in the state for medicinal purposes, not recreational. But I've been to other places in other states where it's legal for both, and there's still guys standing outside trying to sell you cheaper.
Yeah, but are they giant criminal networks though that have massive power because they have control over the market?
No, usually guys growing them in their closet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not cartel.
But then they start passing out the drugs, passing out the needles, and then they're like, oh, it's good, just more people are doing it, but it's legal. So, would you think it should be legal or illegal?
That's a very good question. Well, first of all, what's one of the oldest professions in the history? It's prostitution in France. Selling your ass.
I'm writing that down.
Write that down, France. But
no reason.
It's a really good question, Taylor. It's a really good point on him, because it's I used to say, well, I still believe in it, strip clubs are essential part of society because, and he nailed it, some of those guys that can't get that release, because these strippers, say what you want, they talk to these guys, yeah, they're getting money, and it's a business. They're talking to them, they hang out, they go to the strip club. Rob's one of those guys. He puts,
literally, there was a Russian woman that got me. There was a Russian woman that fleeced me at a Philadelphia strip club. I'm not kidding you, for $500 when I delivered pizzas. I kept falling asleep getting private lap dances, and she kept waking me up. I was very drunk. And she kept waking me up and taking me to the ATM, and I just kept putting the card in and taking out $100 at a time to answer. And then I'd go back, and she'd play like 30 seconds of slow, and then go back, and she'd wake me back up. And the guys that I worked with from the radio, we had all just gotten fired, so we were all really drunk.
Oh my God.
And the next morning I woke up, and the guy's like, yeah, you spent like $1,000 on that woman. And I went, well, at least I got her through nursing school.
That's an exception because you had that fun, crazy night. But imagine those guys that if it wasn't for that release, they'd be out on the streets. They'd be out there as a predator looking for this. And that'd be a great. I'd like to see like the statistics of places that have more strip clubs and where the sexual assault on women is. 'Cause I think the more strip clubs, the more they go and have that release, lap dance, whatever the hell they're doing. But I think when it comes to prostitution, I know that's a slippery slope because once you have it, you make it legal. Government's obviously gonna get involved. Can you imagine that, bro? Like legitimately calling out, like I can't come have sex. Like it's gonna make it legal, but at the same point, then there's gonna be problems. There's gonna be people that are gonna try to cheat the system, bring in younger people. Oh, this guy wants to hook up with the young. It's a very, very slippery slope. But I mean, I'm kind of on the fence. I don't know
who would hate that? I think women would hate that because imagine if that what Marco was just out there, be like, you know what? Like, yeah, I'm just gonna get myself laid because I can and it's legal.
Oh yeah.
But like right now, like women kind of.
Before we go to, sorry, go ahead.
No, just like right now, like think about the situation where like guys in a marriage or something, like the woman knows you can't just go out and get laid because you have to like go to the game or something.
Yeah.
I don't. Before you make your point though, I think you're on the other side. I just want you to see what ACLU says about it.
Yeah.
They said the criminalization of sex work makes sex workers more vulnerable to violence on the job and less likely to report violence. It prevents sex workers from accessing healthcare and other critical services, feeds an out-of-control mass of incarceration system, and further marginalizes some of society's most vulnerable groups, such as trans women of color and immigrants.
Trans women of color, yeah, that's a lot. Trans woman, so a guy that's not white.
It makes it more. People they're actually more vulnerable because it's illegal because they won't report.
So it'd make them safer if it was legal.
Yeah.
Like
or
the
just
Uber
get a real
prostitution.
job.
The Uber of hookers.
Exactly.
Like if there was a hooker app where on your phone, you could. And honest, I know that sounds ridiculous, but
it's actually pretty funny.
I mean, they could upload their medical records. The people, you could make prostitution policed in that way, where in order for you to be able to connect with this prostitute, you would have to submit an AIDS test that proves that you have a clean bill of health, and you can upload it. It's verified by the app. Then it matches you with another clean prostitute in the area.
Yeah.
I actually think that there are ways that we could use technology to make prostitution safe.
Like Angie's List, but for
exactly.
Yeah, like a plumber. Really.
You literally get Angie. Don't use Craigslist.
I'm on the completely other side of it. I think the more we start legalizing things that, sex was not created to just be a fling or a fart in the wind or whatever it is. Like, it was created to be a union between man and woman. And when we start to tear that down on the creation of what sex was created for, and I'm taking this through a biblical worldview. That's totally
fine. Go for it.
And we start to just morally separate ourselves from God even more as a country, and I think we just continue to spiral down more. Sex was created to be great. That's how God intended it for, between a married man and woman to have that experience together, to procreate and to be fruitful and multiply.
Yep.
And when we start taking that act and just making it casual, I believe it's going to continue to decline our morality as a country.
To make it transactional, where it's like, okay,
correct,
sign here and.
I agree with what you're saying. That sex should be more meaningful than it just be. I also see Taylor's point that you brought up earlier about Cardi B and this hookup culture being popularized, which leads to these instances of this weird rough sex that's accessible, it's available. People are putting that out there. They're proud of it. Like the hookup culture culture has become, like when I was in high school, the girl that got around, and I still know her name to this day, very nice gal. Yeah. She's a very nice gal. But she got around, and that was the rumor about her, and it was a bad thing. Yeah. It was, oh, did you hear what so-and-so did this week? And then it became a shift sometime after I graduated college, and I missed all the fun, where it really did. It became people brag about their hookups. Yeah. So while I agree with you that we live in an age where that, hey, sex is just, it's free. It's almost very like 1960s where it's like, hey, hippie culture, everybody can have sex and do drugs. Now you literally can buy weed from a dispensary and then go have sex with a legal host.
Does that make it right?
No.
Right? Just because it's popular doesn't necessarily make it right and moral.
I would agree with you on that because I actually think it desensitizes everything that we see. Like for one, I agree with the biblical sense that sex we shouldn't be as much of a promiscuous culture because it desensitizes everything. Then we see sex on the gram. Like, remember when you used to watch like the award shows and there were clothes and they actually did music, and then they're fast forward to today, they're like jumping on stage, doing all that.
Cardi B, rap,
and then it goes all full circle where then you have kids that are sitting down and drag queens are reading them because it's okay. Yeah. It's like live and let live. So I think I would agree on that standpoint that it desensitizes everything and it makes us really an over sexualized culture, which I can't imagine why that would be a good thing.
I think a lot of that also has to do with the porn culture as well.
Oh God,
I think there's things. It's killing marriages. It's killing young. I mean, there's kids that are like 22 years old, and those are kids to me now because I'm getting old. You know, but that are suffering from impotence because they can't have sex with an actual woman because what they've been accustomed to is so out there that when you're actually with a woman, it doesn't.
Soon AI will solve that problem, and
that's the problem with technology is that there's great parts of the internet where if you're having some kind of weird ailment, you can go on and find how they treat it in Indonesia. You know, and then you can watch a girl and 17 dudes, and you're like, oh, that's interesting. I'll click on that, and all of a sudden you go down a dark rabbit hole. Yeah. So that's where like because when I was growing up, how old are you?
40.
Okay, so I'm 37. We didn't have the internet where you could go to boobs.com when I was 12 or 13. If you wanted to see porn, you had to go and find your buddy's dad's stash of nudie mags. And even those at the time, you're like, oh, those are graphic. And now you look at the internet, you're like, oh, that's every day on Twitter. I scroll through and I see like, there's times where I'm on Twitter and I'm just looking for sports. I'm like, what? No, I don't want to see you put that there. Next to news.
Well, and it's really, you know, as a father of 5, it worries me for my children because the average age of exposure to pornography now is 8 years old.
Oh my God!
You can literally go on Twitter. I mean, it's crazy.
So the damage that has on our kids and the damage that it's going to do for their future is just it's mind-boggling and it's unforeseen, right? We don't know the long-term effects of early exposure to that kind of stuff, and so it really worries me, you know, for my children and what they're going to have to. The battles they're going to have to fight.
That's why I'm still saving my virginity till I get married.
That's a good boy.
Thanks, buddy.
You already told us about the girl that was choking you.
She choked me. I didn't say that. All right, guys, we're gonna move on to Brandon. So, Brandon.
Yes.
Yesterday, in the first ever in history, Kevin McCarthy got booted from Speaker of the House. It's never happened, right? Ever in the history. So, in Congress. Right now is simultaneously the worst and the most dysfunctional. Wait, what was it? The worst,
most powerful,
most powerful, and the most.
She wrote it down 5 times.
I wrote down. I scribbled it. So the most powerful and the most dysfunctional at the same exact time, which is bananas.
It's weird, yeah.
So what's your insight?
Yeah. So the McCarthy thing's context for all this, and I just wanted to run through like the powers that Congress has because I don't think a lot of people really pay too much attention to that, but Congress is the most powerful unit in the world, especially when they're united on something. They have the power to make laws, you know, the people who make the rules of life, and it's a game they're playing, you know. So imagine like a referee participating in a game while refereeing the game. That's quite a bit of an advantage. You know, they make over 500 laws per year.
500 laws?
Yeah, per year.
And is there any, Brendan, because I want you to, obviously going to stand there, but is there any oversight on them?
No, they're the last.
They're just that's not scary.
Well, you know what? Actually, the people are the oversight for them, which I'm going to get to at the end.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah. That's already scaring the shit out of me, 500 laws.
So they also have the power to declare war, not the president. Congress has the power to declare war and set the military budget. they have the power to, or they decide how much money gets spent every year. So the money they get from tax receipts and all that, they decide how much gets spent, what gets spent where, and they have the special ability to take out more money if they reach their budget, don't have any left. They could say, oh, we need this much more. And guess, out of the last 50 years, how many times Congress has went over budget? What would you guess?
In the last 50 years, how many times have they went over budget?
49.
Was it every single year? Every year?
Is that your guess?
I was going to say 50.
Every year?
Are you guessing every year?
Well, you're asking how many times they do it a year?
50, in 50 years, how many times have they gone over budget? Their budget, Congress. In 50 years, if they guess 1 to 50.
25.
Okay. 46.
No,
Dude, so guess what? They're horrible at their job.
And that's what the $33 trillion in debt is. That's them overspending each year. That's why we're $33 trillion in debt, because they spend a couple trill more than they have.
Trillion.
Yeah.
And don't they also, at the end of the year, there's always like these, hey, we need to burn X amount of dollars, otherwise we won't get it for the next fiscal year. So we'll buy everybody brand new office chairs, even though we bought everybody brand new office chairs 6 months ago.
That's how they
do it. Like, they literally just burn our money.
Yeah, it's disgusting, because you get your budget cut if you don't spend it all. So, yeah, those are just a few things. Then next, so they also are able to impeach federal officers. So, you know, they have, like the president, the Congress has the power to impeach the president. They have the power to impeach anybody the president appoints. They also get to decide if they approve other people the president appoints. So if you want to have a certain type of person at a certain position, Congress has to give their stamp of approval.
Jeez.
Also, they have the ability to give out government contracts or set regulations on companies. So companies as powerful as Google or Amazon tremble in their boots at the thought of Congress being out of favor with Congress. So Congress can literally call them to testify and set regulations on something like Google or Amazon that totally obliterates their business.
So didn't they try to do that with Facebook?
They did do it.
Yeah,
They did it with Facebook during COVID.
Yeah, and recently too. Like there's a whole different thing with Facebook's ad marketing, or you can't target people with your ads anymore. And
I remember that when that's when Zuckerberg was on it was in Congress, and it was did you see the water? That's when he drank the water. And if you guys are
like an alien,
YouTube, Mark Zuckerberg drinking water. I'm not joking. He goes like this, and he goes. It's the weirdest.
You know what that is? That you're so rich that you don't even drink your own water.
I need to know how
they beat Bird. You come here. They do this. Yeah. They go, here, Mark Zuckerberg, you need a drink, and then he goes, oh, thank you. And now I'm gonna wipe away my tears of millions.
But trust me, watch YouTube after this. Zuckerberg drinking water in Congress. He's an alien. But go ahead.
And yeah, lastly, they could overrule the president if he tries to put something forward. They could vote against him. You know, so that leads to the question. So why is it that our Congress is so dysfunctional? Why is it the most ridiculous group of people that you could think of in any area of life? The reason is, what demands excellence? I would say competition more than anything. Mm-hmm. And why is there such a lack of competition in Congress? Is because the DNC and the RNC completely exclude competition in the sense of they do not let people on the ballot. They control the primaries. Imagine, Yale and Harvard, most of the time, big businesses or successful businesses, they try to hire people from places like Yale and Harvard, but there's a reason for that, because people that went to those places got good grades and were smart and whatnot. But in politics, to be part of the DNC or the RNC, you just have to be the best ass kisser, or be the person who does whatever this group wants you to do, sell every part of your soul and show I'm going to be a good Democrat, I'm going to be a good Republican, let me churn through the system and wait for my turn in line. But that doesn't create the best outcome. Imagine if NFL teams only allowed people from 2 different colleges to come just based on how they acted. That wouldn't result in the best athletes being in the NFL. But that's the system that we have in Congress, because they're the people that make the laws and set up the system in a way to be advantageous for the way they have it.
Brendan, is there any way for that to change?
Yeah, so like I said before, the boss of Congress is the people, but this kind of ties into a quote that Plato said: if you ignore the affairs of your politicians, you're doomed to be under the rule of fools. And we're under the rule of fucking retards. So,
I agree.
Yeah.
Brandon's showing passion, baby. It really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Because we're not paying attention. 9 out of 10 people have no idea about this stuff, and that's the way forward. We have to bombard them with public pressure to change this shit and make it actually competitive.
And do you think? And that's my point, Brandon. Because ignorance is bliss, and like you're saying, people don't care, and the amount of think about it. Just think about it, bro, Joe. From sports to entertainment to gender to sex to everything that separates us, nobody's caring about this. It's them on the top. It's the military. It's the cops. And listen, all of us. I don't give a shit who you are. You're down here. They are stopping us. Is there any hope, Brandon? Because you're talking about us, and it's the people. We're the 99%. If you think about it, bro, we are the people are the strongest. Do you think that there's going to change? Because as we're seeing, Brandon, anybody that's trying to make change is getting prosecuted. They're arresting them. They're bringing up all, like you said, the impeachments, the this, the that. Is there any hope?
Yeah, if the public got behind a specific issue, pinpoint something, was actually united and pissed off about it, say one thing like open primary, something that would make politics more competitive, actually make people like RFK be able to run as an independent in a state, because right now it's set in a way where you can't do that. But if people got pissed off about that one issue and just pounded Congress with the phone calls and emails and saying no, I'm not going to vote for you if you don't actually make open primaries in your state. So that's something that could have tremendous amount of influence.
But how long does that take?
It could take one election cycle if people are actually pissed off about it and put a lot of pressure behind it.
And I also think I actually love what Matt Gaetz did, because I totally agree that you shouldn't be able to pass 1,000-page bills for everything like this. No one even knows what it is. And I actually would say that it's unconstitutional, because the Constitution says that they govern by the consent of the governed. How do you consent to a 1,000-page document that no one even knows what it is? So I actually don't even know how these bills are constitutional. I would actually argue that they're not. And I applaud Matt Gaetz, because when it comes to, if they're passing a law, it should be one page. We should be able to read it. We should be able to understand it. It should be able to transparent, so the people can actually give the consent, and the people that they're voting for, they know what they voted for. It's like, oh, they voted for this bill. It was 216 to this. Well, what was the bill? Oh, it was about the defense spending. Well, what was in it?
They don't care.
It's 13,000 pages long.
It's the same thing with the spending of the money, right? They've sent $1 trillion, and then there's all these different lines in there. Like $100 million goes to some museum in California, and another $300 million goes over here for this nonprofit, and it's like
it goes 100,000 for geckos walking on a treadmill. It's like
save the spotted owl.
Gender studies.
They sent something overseas. They sent a couple $100 million for trans studies and
and Indonesia,
something.
And that's what happens when you keep voting. When taxes first rolled out, it was like a one-page tax. How long is the tax policy now? No one even knows.
Nobody has any idea.
And then they're like, we need to lower the taxes because it's going to be for the people, or we need to heighten them. It's better for the people. Well, the people that are actually passing the taxes, there's so many loopholes, all these things that they don't pay the taxes, which good for them. But we don't even know what we're voting for. We don't even know the people that we're voting for. We don't even know what they're voting for. We don't even know what they stand for, because it's thousands of pages that they haven't even read and they're voting on.
I agree. And I think Matt Gaetz did do something today where he's fighting for whoever's going to be the speaker, where they're going to fight for at least a 72-hour window so they can attempt to read these 1,000-page bills.
Well, it's just pass a bill. They have to be. If you're going to pass something on the on defense, it's one page. If you're going to pass something on education, it's one page.
Yeah. And I want to be able to read that shit. It's all. By the way, you work for us.
We understand it.
Do you think people in Congress can recite the rules of the Constitution?
No.
Hell no.
No.
Isn't that the problem? That somebody like you, who has insight and depth and can understand it and go, I can work within these rules to make a change. You understand it, and the people who are put in charge don't even know the rules.
Exactly.
They just blindly pass.
Most of our laws are unconstitutional.
So let me ask you guys a question, and Brandon, I want to ask you first. So this move, the speaker, which is, dude, it's never happened before. What type of ramifications is going to happen for the election, and what? Brandon, was it set up? Did anybody see this coming? I know they spoke about it. I think it's a plan, but I want to ask all of you, because Brandon, he hinted at it before. I 100% do not believe in just, whoa, this happened, breaking news. What's really happening, Brandon?
Yeah, no, so I mean, he kind of summed himself up to be super vulnerable, because it was a rare situation. You know how it took 14 votes for him to even get the Speaker of the House thing when they were voting for it? So each time a vote failed, he had to make a side deal with a person saying, all right, so I'll make this deal with you, just vote for me. And that had to happen 14 times. You had to flip 14 people by selling
He did that?
shit. Yeah.
Some House of Cards shit.
Yeah, so he finally got to the point where it's all right, fine, if one person puts me up for votes, I'm calling me into question, fine, I'll make that deal. So, this isn't a normal situation where one person could put him up for a vote, but, because it took 14 times for him to get voted in, that was the situation. And I think somebody made a good point the other day. There's speculation that Matt Gaetz didn't even think that he was going to lose the vote.
Really?
Yeah, so this might have just been an accidental chaos grenade.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Don't even know
do you guys agree with it? Do you like what happened?
I like. First of all, great question, because how long has he been in the House?
9 months.
He's been 9 months. Be honest. What's really happened? And I've always said this. The Democrats are the winners. I know they're on the same team, but these cats, they know the game. They set the game up to win. One side, the Republicans, just they're that annoying chihuahua that's on your ankles, but they never ever bite. Jim Jordan, he's up there preaching. Dude, I love listening to him. I remember when who was the South Carolina?
Graham.
He was damn. He was during Benghazi and everything. South Carolina congressman. Anyway. Amazing, held Hillary to the fire, all the Benghazi, all the FBI collusion. He was amazing. What happens? I want results. I'm tired of the, hey, we caught you, and nothing happened. So the fact that they're doing it and making this move, I think it's showing at least some fire if it isn't set up, Brandon, which, who knows?
Who knows?
I love it.
They're talking about potentially Matt Gaetz being expelled from Congress. They're looking at.
They're talking about him?
They're talking about him.
Byron Bowers? Who's the
fire alarm guy.
No, that's Jamal Bowman.
Okay.
The Byron, the black congressman, the really good edge up. They're talking about him being the House Speaker, which I like the shot. I like the shake up.
As long as
it's necessary.
What line of position, like in succession? It's President, Vice President, Speaker of the House.
Speaker of the House.
They're about third in line behind a guy that's seen in Kamala Harris.
That's an incredibly powerful position too. Like they're the ones who get to decide what votes get called to the floor and voted on. So that's an incredibly powerful position. And the interesting thing about Speaker of the House is anybody in the world could be Speaker of the House.
I was going to say,
Oh,
you don't have to
Elon
be in
Musk.
Congress.
Who would you like to see fulfill that?
I would love to see Trump do it.
Yes!
There was speculation about it like 2 years
Could
ago.
you imagine? And guess what his commercial would be? His commercial would be like this. I'm back, bitches.
Because you could run train on anybody as Speaker of the House. Yeah, like destroy them.
And he commented.
I've not seen those videos. I run trade, and then Taylor, who goes to church, goes, trade like a market? Are we trading on the market?
I was making a joke when I said that.
Because I was like, I was going to go, it's down, trade. She's a Christian.
I do go to church, though.
Yeah, so, but go ahead.
I don't even know what I was thinking of. So Trump made a comment, though, because someone shouted out to him about becoming the speaker, and he kind of said, if I can do it while running, we'll have to see it. If whatever they need help with, I'd love to help them. I don't know if it's going to really happen. I don't know, but it would make things very... I think it would be really good.
How great! Because, he speaks hilarious, and to have him be the speaker, I don't know if you guys saw this, Brendan, it was on the PBD podcast. Did we show it? Oh, I don't think we did, because there was music. And you mentioned this earlier, Donald Trump, love him or hate him. He's funny.
He's hilarious.
He's like, indict the motherfucker. The other one was, he said while he was in, with this whole climate change, he's anti, he's like, the planet's going to be fine, right? And so they asked, he goes, when I was in, somebody in the Department of Defense was like, hey, Mr. President, we're thinking about doing eco-friendly fighter jets. And he goes, what eco-friendly? He goes, we're bombing and shooting people. Who gives a shit on a plane? He is so funny. But
it's like so true.
But it's true.
It's just like blunt, like, what are we worried about that for? We're dropping.
So at the end of the day, hilarious, dude. That would be my choice. But here's my question, Brandon. Can you go from Speaker of the House and then run for president?
Oh yes, of course. You can do whatever you want when you're in politics. You could go from any position to any position.
Oh, just to piss off the left.
Yeah.
And that, by the way, that's one of the main reasons I was pro-Trump, because I was in Los Angeles, and just the fact that, remember that video of that girl with the glasses?
Yeah.
That she was like, they were like, and the new president, she was like, dude, I would lay in bed and just watch that over and over, because as a comedian, I like people when they're, you're pissing people off. That's it. So anyway,
just one quick thing. Like, so think of, this is the impact the Speaker of the House has. Think of the vibe of the country when Pelosi was Speaker of the House. Like, I call it her reign of terror from 2018 to 2022, because just like, I know McCarthy didn't do anything, but I was at least like at peace that I wasn't going to get like vaccines forced down me and whatnot, when McCarthy went in. So that's the difference with speakers have, because like companies follow this tone of Congress.
Oh wow, that's right.
Because all the mandates went away when Pelosi went away.
Yup, and as we saw during COVID, she was one of those stay home, don't do shit, blah blah. Meanwhile, she's going getting her hair done and doing all that shit. And then Trump was saying close the planes, close the border, China, China, China. She was in Chinatown saying, listen, we're a country of everybody.
Xenophobic.
Xenophobic, come down to Chinatown, you dumb bitch. Everybody got COVID.
And it's just for such a powerful position, we can't do better than Nancy Pelosi or McCarthy. Like his final speech, I'm like, oh my God, he's so boring. He's like, I did it with a smile. It's like, no one cares.
Smile your ass back to your own office. That's so funny. All right, guys, we're going to go to one quick story before we wrap up. And by the way, I appreciate everybody that's watching The Unusual Suspects. If you haven't already, click on the subscribe button, guys. Hit the reminder, because we're doing this every week. And guys, this is the beginning. We're going to have some people on here that you guys are going to be like, wait a minute, is that this person? It's all going to change. I'm not going to be here all the time, but I might shift there. You never know. So anyway, but we appreciate you. Last story, today at 2:20 p.m.
2:18.
Yeah, let's be real. Which even adds to the allure of the situation. It was 2:18. Anybody with a cell phone knows that the National Emergency Alert System had a test today under FEMA. I wish I had cameras like in restaurants, because we were eating lunch and all of a sudden, we all, by the way, we all shut off our phones. Kelly shut off her phone. Chrissy, everybody's phone's off. And then it was just a matter of time. Some old guy's phone was just like, and apparently, some people were claiming that the emergency broadcast system test would send a signal to cell phones nationwide in order to activate. I saw multiple videos of this, Rob. Nanoparticles such as graphene oxide, you guys should look this up, that have been introduced into people's bodies through the COVID-19 vaccine to make them to make them crazy, domestic violence, people getting. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. We were in the restaurant and Christy was here. John was right here. That guy's phone went off, and something, I don't hit women, but I looked at Christy and I was like, you bitch. Something made me hate her.
You don't have the vaccine.
No, I don't have the vaccine. Maybe the nano graphene oxide. But let's be honest, Maverick, as soon as 2:18 hit, Joel, Maverick's like, I got a headache. I'm like, are you vaxxed? He's like, oh, but I just hate everybody here. But I mean, it's obviously, it's a theory, but it does drive me, not drive me crazy. I'm never amazed at people, like the shit that people do kind of come up with. Who sat there and was like, hey guys, that thing that's coming out, it's going to trigger graphene oxide in your body. Brendan, you give any credence to this? Or
no, I think that's super overthinking it. I mean, it is creepy, and I definitely think there's a reason for it. I think more along the lines of, all right, like, so what are they going to send out in, like, mass form at some point in the future that, like, tells us to do something? Like, I could see them being like, okay, like, emergency order, like, XYZ is happening, so you have to do XYZ. Like, I'm thinking more along those lines of, like, you know, a mass communication system that could tell everybody to do something or deliver a message to everybody, like, within minutes.
Yep. And by the way, P.S., I wouldn't put anything past this government.
Hell no.
Who knows, bro? Because, by the way, that'd be a great a statistic. We'll have Tom the BizDoc do something where
charts and graphs.
Yo, Taylor, this month, let's see if domestic violence and anger and death went up just in this 1 month, just as a national poll. It'd be interesting to see.
Some people were saying that it's in a response to the debacle of what happened in Hawaii. With the fires, like that they weren't able to communicate with people fast enough. I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't know, but it was odd.
My phone was by the way, my phone, and I want to know everybody in the chat whose phone was off, because mine was off. I didn't give a shit. My mom was like, Vinny, I was sick. I don't know. Mom, there's graphene outside.
Did it go off after you shut off?
No, because I was when Kelly shut off. And then she turned hers on during it, because I mean, dude, we work for Valuetainment. As soon as she turned it on, by the way, Rob, it was so loud. Kelly was like, "I'm okay, I'll get cancer." Pat, I'm sorry, graphene oxide.
It's funny because there were guys in our office who turned their phones off. But by the way, I don't think anybody there's vaccinated, so I was like, what do we have to worry about?
Yeah.
But everybody turned their phones off, and then people were turning their phones back on, and the emergency alert was still coming
for
through.
30 minutes, the test was running for 30 minutes.
So my brother bought a secret, like a super protective bag to put he shut his phone off. He thought fucking I love you dearly. But he bought a bag that he shut his phone off, put the phone in the bag, and then ziplocked it sealed. But I'm guaranteeing that he opened it back up 5 minutes later because he's addicted to fucking playing Candy Crush. And he pulls the phone back out. And just imagine you buy this, you spend all this time investing into getting this secret, like, safe technology, and then you end up getting
safe technology that they couldn't even set off on time.
No, dude, because by the way,
not a good run on the emergency.
Because by the way, which is another, but that's why the Maui thing I kind of question it, because today in Russia they did the same thing too. It's like we're both nuclear powered. Yeah. You know, we're the superpowers. Why is Russia doing it the same
According
day
to people that I love when people say
that.
People are saying that the Russian one, though, they're saying that it's a test in case there's some type of nuclear event.
I mean, and listen, I get it. I was in the military. You want some warning. If it is the Maui thing, I think that, you know, it was a great thing. But to be honest with you, isn't it way more funner going, hey, are you vaccinated? Get the hell away. You better shut your damn phone off, bro. Because by the way, and I have your friend that, is it your brother? Puts the bag in there. I have a friend that's so freaking off. He's anti-microwave. Has a microwave, but puts a blanket over it when he's cooking food. I go, come on. I go, bro. The food is nuked. You're still eating nuked food.
A blanket.
He puts a blanket because he doesn't want the shit coming out to hit the family.
But then he eats the food that
he eats the food, Taylor. He's an idiot.
On that note.
He's an idiot. On that note, hey, everybody out there, first of all, I want to say thank you again for tuning in. This is going to be one of many. This show it's growing. We're doing our thing. Please subscribe. Please tell a friend. Hit the reminder button up there so you guys know. Also, we have Volt, the Volt drink. Guys, I'm not joking. Why? You know why I'm always on? Look, I'm on cocaine. This drink is. Have you drank the whole thing yet? Don't you feel different? Because you know at 9 they're sending another thing. Another phone alert. Yeah. But you can,
I think I feel the same. But
yeah. But Volt is out on Amazon right now. Again, guys, I love you all. God bless you. Take care of each other. We will see you next week, Kelly. Same time. Same time. God bless you guys. Peace and love. We're out.